So there are different ways of approaching illustrations especially when you're a beginner. There is master copies, where you imitate somebody's work and try to get it as close to the original as possible. So this is not your design, this is not your artwork, you're essentially just trying to study a master's work. So they're master copies because you're creating a copy of a master. I think this originated in, or is a practice with illustration or fine art students that go to museums and copy masters. So it's a study. Okay, this is not something like, you shouldn't be copying an artist and say, look what I did. It's not really your work. It's more for you to study. So that's the purpose of a master study. Then the next step is getting multiple pieces of inspiration and mashing them together to create a new art form, which then practically is your design or your creation, because you took inspiration from multiple different looks and created your own. So that's already a step further than just a master copy. And that's what I would think or define this one as. This would be like the second step. It's not something that came exactly out of my own head, but it is something that I put together with various pieces of inspiration. The next level is something that you come up with without inspiration from other artists, maybe inspiration from nature or your environment, but not necessarily inspiration from other art, and you create the whole thing on your own, draw it, illustrate it, whatever materials you're using, and that would be your original work. So that's how I would kind of categorize the stages of studying illustration or becoming a proficient illustrator when you're just starting out. Does work without inspiration actually exist? I don't think work without inspiration exists 100%. You are always influenced by your surroundings, by things that you consume, but there's a difference between being inspired by other people's work and kind of that sparking ideas, and incorporating somebody else's artwork or style even into your own work. I think there is a really clear distinction that needs to happen between being inspired and liking a style and incorporating that one. As long as you're still elevating that to something else, that's still your original work, even though you might have incorporated some style essences from somebody else's work. But being inspired in general, just consuming things, and maybe you like a particular color palette and that's what inspires your color palette, I think that's a little bit different though, because you're then not just taking one particular thing from another artist and incorporating that, but it's just a general concept of me, for example. I like bright pastel colors. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of artists that create artwork with bright pastel colors. You know, that's not really a specific thing tied to one particular artist, whereas maybe a certain type of line style or a certain type of shading style might be recognizable for one particular artist. And if you incorporate that, that doesn't necessarily mean you're copying them, but if somebody can look at two images side by side and say, yeah, that's from the same person, then you're walking a very fine line between inspiration and copying. Or I think you've then actually crossed that line.